friends. We are going to start the second question and answer session. So Kushalan is ready with the written reports and questions. So we will start with written reports.
Avsray Bante.
Yeah.
Today is the 22nd of March 2026 and the second and the final Q&A session of the retreat. There are 12 reports / questions. 5 are related directly to the meditation practice and 7 are questions related to the Dhamma talk and also some general questions.
Okay.
So, report number 1, mindful sitting. Venerable Bante, sitting on the cushion, noted, "Here I am," and started observing the sensations. Attention came to breath, noted how the long breath converted into short but frequent breaths. Only right nostril was working, but later this moved to the left. Kept observing and noted a gap in between in-breath and the out-breath. Just then a bright light appeared, moved attention back to breath. This occurred twice and kept noting in and out breath till the bell rang. Much merits, Bante, for your guidance.
Yeah. Actually, there are a few areas that we can discuss. One thing is that the improvement of the samadhi. So you are keeping your attention as much as possible with the breath, but the light appears means that the nimitta, that the concentration sign now emerge. So seems like you neglected that and pay attention back to the breath. So that is what we need to do typically at the beginning, because till we find that the nimitta is stable, so we are not supposed to look at the nimitta. So thing is sometimes nimitta come and go, it doesn't stay stable, and we can't make use of it. So till that we need to let the breath happens. So as we are continuing the practice, so our samadhi deepens and then the nimitta come and stay stable and without moving, fairly aligned with the breath, and then naturally you can look at it, and if you like you can simply ignore the breathing now, completely be with the nimitta, and then it can become even brighter. And the way you handle it actually needs certain amount of practice, because sometimes the nimitta comes and at first it is not stable, it come and go, but later only it becomes stable and it stay with the breath and then fairly align with the breathing. So I mean, sometimes if the nimitta is somewhere else, it's very difficult to pay attention. So better you stay with the breathing, not with the nimitta. But when nimitta and the breath become fairly aligned, it's very much like you are breathing into nimitta and breathing in from nimitta and breathing out to nimitta, something like that. You get well aligned with the nimitta. Then it's easily you can absorb to it and make use of it for deeper, say, jhanic experience. But anyway, it is not essential, by the way. I mean, now some people think, okay, it is a must to have nimitta. I mean, anapanasati should take us to jhana. So such thought is also there. But there are instances that you can say you can make use of anapanasati to develop the necessary skills. Not necessarily go to say jhana, but you can turn anapanasati into maybe later into elements meditation or into Vedananupassana or even into Chittanupassana. So different possibilities are there. So don't get discouraged thinking, okay, I am practicing anapanasati but no nimitta at all. So don't get discouraged thinking like that. But I mean, these several possibilities are available. So in this particular report, so you have the possibility of making use of the nimitta since it is now coming, and see whether even the next time, so you can confidently say, okay, I am starting the practice, and then after a while the nimitta appear and then it becomes stable and I can let go of the breath, I can be with the nimitta, can get absorbed to it. This kind of a sort of confidently if you can say, then you can make use of it. Till that, better breathe with the breathing without paying much attention to the nimitta. You better be with the breath.
Report number 2. Dear Bhante, thank you and so much merits for the very insightful practical Dhamma talk and Q&A. Yesterday, this motivated me to do longer walking meditation and felt very productive. This was followed by sitting meditation with longer periods without any thoughts and longer experiences of sensations such as feeling very light and floating like sensation. Further to my questions yesterday, I would like to know whether staying long in this type of sensation could be a hindrance, or should I go back to breath forcefully, as I sometimes subconsciously anticipate these experiences which are comforting. On a negative note, I fell asleep mostly during the morning sitting meditation session, but I accepted it. Wishing you blessings of the triple gems and much merits for being a great teacher.
So anyway, we can ignore the last part. So basically that being with the sensations is not a bad thing. Only thing is we need to observe it. We need to make use of it. So more we observe it, more we understand its behavior, so more will be our depth of our insight. Because these are some experiential knowledge that we are gathering, and so being with the breath is one. Now in this report, first he is in the breath at first, right? At first he's in the breath, and then it turns into the sensations. Okay, yeah. I mean this is a very typical practice, and if you are familiar with Goenka practice, this is the same thing that they are doing. So Anapanasati behaves like a preparatory session. So as I mentioned yesterday, so we need to prepare our faculties, so mindfulness, maybe concentration, how to balance the effort, and these kind of faculties are to be sort of fine-tuned. So we do that using Anapanasati, but main insight practice is not breathing, but rather the sensations. So you can pay attention to various sensations, and so these sensations are helping us to understand the true nature. So different sensations may appear, but I mean you can't control them. So don't try to control them and let them happen as they want. And in the report it's mentioned the breathing also change. So let it change, no problem. Actually, you don't need to switch to breathing unless you become somewhat distracted. Now assume that you use breathing and then shifted to sensations, and you are capable of observing sensations continuously without much problem, then just continue to do that. You don't need to return to breathing, because this area is a very rich area for us to develop insights. Because for you now one very good door is open for Vipassana, so just keep observing them. Assume that while you are doing that you feel say completely distracted, again many thoughts are coming and your concentration has reduced, your focused attention has reduced, then you better come back to the breath again to sort of sharpen your faculties, sharpen the mindfulness, sharpen the concentration, and then you can go back to the sensations again. So something like that.
Report number 3. Dear Venerable Bhante, I practice walking and sitting meditation for a while now. Try to practice mindfulness regularly, also during daily activities. I still do not understand what decides our body and mind to settle during the meditation practice. I have tried many different time slots in the day: after walking, more effort, less effort, after good sleep, before meal. What I noticed is mind or body settle in its own accord whenever it decides, irrespective of what I choose to do. I find my mind sometimes settles unexpectedly in a busy, noisy environment, but unable to do that in a calm morning where I get many thoughts. Please help to understand. Thank you, Bhante.
Oh, that's very interesting. So the opposite happens for many others. So when they are in the busy environment, so their mind get distracted, and when they come in the morning in the SOS, so the mind easily settles. But the opposite has happened. Maybe you are putting a lot of effort. So that is something you need to check. Because the effort has two sides in a way. At first, when you are putting a lot of effort, it may helpful to reduce distractions and bring your attention to the breath or any whatever the primary object. Something like forcefully you are doing it. But later, if you continue to have the same amount of effort, that excess amount of effort can cause restlessness. So that's a small theory actually we need to learn. Say, certain amount of effort is necessary at the beginning just to tame the mind, just to calm down the mind, reduce the distractions. But later, you need to reduce the effort, optimize the effort, then only basically you may be able to continue the path. Otherwise, this excess effort can become a cause for restlessness. Atipaggahitang viryang uddachanu patitang samadhissa paripanto. Now this is the statement. So if we have excess effort, it can become a reason for restlessness. So see whether you are adding unnecessary effort in the morning. Now say once you come here, you have nothing much to do. Everything is calm, fairly quiet, and you can simply sit and just do nothing and see what's going on without making big effort. So probably your mind already calmed down, and you don't need to make a lot of effort. You don't need to even have a big intention, because sometimes our intentions, our expectations can cause big trouble. When you have certain expectation, okay, in the morning my meditation should be like this, it should be successful. So likewise we have various types of expectations. So these expectations themselves can cause a lot of hindrances, and then the mind become unbalanced. So just come in the morning and just relax, calm down and sit, and without doing much, just see how breath is happening. Most probably it may be now, because of the environment, it's quite silent, and you are also very fresh early in the morning, and without much effort things may settle. So see that is the area that you need to develop, the reducing the effort in a way. On the other hand, now you are mentioning interestingly that say at a noisy place you can still, the mind sometimes settles. So that's a kind of a good thing, because that the mind has certain insight. It doesn't want to be being carried away by the noise or the outside distractions. Rather, it prefers to stay inside. That's a good thing. That's a good sign. So therefore, mind has certain insight. Now we need to properly manage it. So that's the point. So how to manage the existing insight in a proper manner? So effort maybe has to be properly fine-tuned. Then you may be able to handle it properly. That's what I felt. May I have to know who has written it? Okay, nobody want to. Who has written the report? Anybody liked? Okay, then we'll proceed.
Report number 4, mindful walking. Venerable Bhante, yesterday evening started meditation, focusing on left and right. Once the mind was still on the sensations of the foot, took the attention to the elements, noted the coldness of the tile, how it flew through the socks to the foot, and after few steps, noted the top of the foot was cold, though the touch point was warm, despite the tile being very cold. Few steps more, noted the coldness converting into water, and it felt as if I was walking on a water puddle. After few more steps, the coldness converted into stiffness. There's a short para on mindful eating as well.
We'll discuss this first. This is very interesting. How these elements change into different characteristics. So we can't, in a way it's showing us our uncontrollability. So we have no control how or which element manifests on the next moment. So it totally depends on the other circumstances. So say and once something arises, you don't have any control how long it exists also. It may disappear as it's on. So in a way we are observing the non-self characteristic. So they are arising and they are passing away is totally up to them. I have no control. Which one going to arise also beyond my control. So just accept it. Just accept it. Just observe. And whatever happens, whatever arises, it's your duty to simply observe. And in an unbiased, non-judgmental way, you are simply observing how they are behaving. Simple as that. So, I mean, this report shows that in a way the non-governability, and you are to simply observe it in a non-judgmental way. And how well you are able to observe it gives us certain insight practically. We have learned or we have heard about the non-self, but not in a practical point of view. But here actually we are experiencing it from a practical point of view. Actually, many aspects are there to non-self. One thing is this non-governability. The other thing is that that internally there is nothing, there is no core as such, and there is no essence as such. That's also one part of the non-self. So likewise, many facets are there, but here you are experiencing the non-governability mostly, and just accept it. Just observe how they are coming and going, how different properties are happening, and you have no control at all. Just accept and observe it.
Mindful eating. In the morning when I was having the rice porridge with kimchi, the first few mouths noted the flavor. However, subsequently it just felt blank and found me noting roughness, watery and liquid nature without any taste.
Okay. Okay, I mean basically some subtle aspects you may be able to observe as you are mindfully eating. Because typically we are not mindful and we may be engaged with various other activities while we are eating. But now when we are paying fair amount of attention to it and we are eating, certain subtle aspects may be evident which were not familiar to you, or which were not evident to you at the previous occasion. But when we are mindful, this very little information may be available. That's a good sign.
Report number 5. Report on mindfulness. On walking, mind straight into thoughts, opinionating old habit, at worry about demands crept in, noted and stopped. Walking meditation number 1. Kept practice simple, feeling foot lift and touch down, aware of weight and imbalance, especially left side of body. Mind was open to cooperating but still moving, looking to entertain thoughts. More difficult to stop mental pictures despite attention at lifting and placing feet. That's the end of the walking part.
Yeah, I mean, you can't immediately get rid of the, say, mental images, because when thoughts happen, it's always attached with the mental image. The what we call as a sanya part, the perception side, is always there. So that's why, I mean, we keep crowding our mind. So our minds are fairly crowded with so much of thoughts as well as attached images, mental images. So mind becomes fairly crowded. But interesting thing is, as you continue the path, or say walking, for example, thoughts also reduce, and concurrently the images also reduce. The mental images also reduce. I mean, it is nice that you notice it. So there are mental images. So still there is no any reduction in it. Don't worry, you have noticed that. That is also a very important thing, that indicates that you are fairly sharp and capable of looking at the mind. So what are the occupants of the mind? But still couldn't abandon it. That's fine. But as you continue, you may notice, okay, now the thoughts also reduce, and these occupants, these mental images also reduce, and now I have little space in my mind. It becomes more and more spacious. So you may notice it. So just continue. That slowly you will get a more spacious mind, more clear mind in a way.
Bhante, the yogi has reported on 2 sitting meditation sessions.
Okay. Yeah.
So sitting meditation number 1, first half observing body, pain, temperature, fluctuation, shivers. Mind calm, thoughts slow, object for meditation, watching incoming breath, following through nostrils to bridge of nose and out. Quality of breath fine, thin. Body posture relaxed. Mind moving and analyzing at times. Some back and forth between letting go of disturbances and resuming attention on breath. Sitting meditation number 2. Object, body, then breath, then lights or space in mind. Noticed contentment after meal and gratitude in mind. Body taking a short time to settle, complaining a bit. Mind lights descended, entered early, so tried to stabilize mind. Frequent but short thoughts were identified shortly after arrival in mind. However, mental pictures more subtle, they swept away attention with their vividness.
Can you repeat that last statement?
Frequent but short thoughts were identified shortly after arrival in mind. However, mental pictures more subtle, they swept away attention with their vividness.
Mm-hmm.
Peace and stillness. That's it.
Peace and stillness, how it connects?
That's just at the last, the yogi has mentioned that. But mainly it says, frequent but short thoughts were identified shortly after arrival in mind. However, mental pictures more subtle, they swept away attention with their vividness.
Yeah, that is true. So basically, now actually we are talking here different skandhas, different aggregates. So sometimes the thought itself catches our attention. Say that is the sankhara khandha, the formations aggregate. So it's so intense or so strong, and it naturally grabs our attention. So that is one possibility. The other possibility is that you have various aches and pains. That's obvious things. That's the vedana, the feelings that catch your attention. The other thing is, as you are mentioning, that the vividness of the mental images, mental pictures is also so attractive. You naturally get attracted to it. You are lost in it, very much like. So that's naturally happening. So likewise, different times actually we are being attracted to different aggregates, and knowing that, so I am being attracted to these mental pictures is a good thing. So be happy about that. You have that clarity, you have a little bit of sharpness in the mind, that you understand, okay, there is a problem. I can't maintain a detached atmosphere. I am being attracted to these very beautiful mental pictures, and that is the bottleneck. So that's the hindrance. Knowing that first is the important thing. But as I mentioned for the walking practice, so as you continue, you may get the spaces in between two thoughts or in between two mental pictures. There is a little gap. So see whether you can notice it. It may not happen immediately, but with time it happen. So in between thoughts or in between these mental images, there may be a little gap. Nothing is there, something like that. So if you are able to notice it, then that's a good place for us to go deeper, to make the continuity. So typically what happens is, these images happen one after the other, like they are well connected. You can't find any gap. But later there are little gaps available, and you might notice them, and slowly these gaps may even enhance or expand. Then you have more space in the mind. So you are looking at that angle even in the sitting and walking, not a bad thing. It's a good sign. And more into Chittanupassana, that's also a good encouraging point. So for the time being, just continue the practice as what you are doing, nothing to change. But later you may actually get more insights through Vipassana practice, through Chittanupassana practice. So that is my prediction, and most probably it might happen.
Now moving on to the questions on the Dhamma talk and other general questions. Dear Venerable Thero, this question is related to the last evening's Dhamma talk on factors influencing the inner chatter. As mentioned, craving is a major factor. How about aversion or dislike arising in the mind? Is aversion also part of craving, or on the other side of it, as in two sides of a coin? Please clarify. Yeah. May you be well and happy. May the Triple Gems bless you.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, we can, in one sense, we can say, so Now, when Buddha explained about the tanha, there are three types he is mentioning: kama tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhava tanha. Okay, so the kama tanha, as we all know, the sensuality. So our minds get attracted to various sensual pleasures. It may be sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles. So the sensuality-based tanha, the craving is there. And then the bhava tanha. So we have a tendency to exist. We have a tendency to continue. And we have a tendency to become. So current state is not enough. I am not happy. I want to become something else, someone else. So always motivated to the next stage or next step or next moment, not being happy in the present moment. So that is being driven by this bhava tanha, where we want continuity, and on the other hand, I want something else. Not the present moment, the next moment. Not the current job, the next job. Not the current level, but the next level. Like that. So we are always in a kind of a situation of motivated attraction to the next moment. Motivated to do something more. Motivated to become someone else. Desire to become. And the vibhava tanha, on the other hand, I want to get rid of. I am not happy here. I want to get out of it. So this kind of the desire to come out of it something, and I'm rejecting the present experience. I am not happy with the present experience. Is the vibhava tanha side. Now, so when we are talking about the anger, aversion, so it's more into this vibhava tanha. So as you pointed out, very much like the two sides of the same coin. So in one side we are being attracted, on the other side we are refusing certain experience. So different aspects of tanha, we can say. So therefore aversion is also part of, we can say, one aspect of tanha. And that's another point you pointed out. Yeah, craving. Yes, of course, craving is actually one aspect of our distraction. So before it rings, so craving is actually one area that we being attracted, and then the mind get involved, and so aversion as the other side. So I am not happy, I want to get rid of it. Another side of desire. Say, what's that? In the Dhamma Sutta, so Buddha mentioned yam picchan nalabati thampi dukkham, isn't it? So if something is beautiful but I couldn't get it, it's a kind of a suffering. So that cause, maybe I have certain something that I like. The current thing I don't like. So two are very much connected to each other. So something is there that I really like, something is that I don't like. So both gives me a certain suffering when I have to be with what I don't like, and when I am not getting what I really like. So two sides are there. So aversion is another area that makes the mind unhappy and think too much. But the aspects actually I am dealing with is even tanha is, aversion is included in tanha. You can take it like that. Aversion is included in the tanha. But various other aspects I discussed last evening shortly. Say one thing is the tanha, the craving side. Other thing is the papancha, the proliferation side. Next one is the comparison, managata, what we call the conceit side. What else? And there's another one, actually I didn't mention that. So typically our mind has a characteristics to become restless. So it is not ready to be just quiet, just still. So it is something we have to train. So typically our minds are restless. So why the mind become restless can cause, because we are attached to something, expecting some kind of a stability. Now just to give an example, now say, assume that you are expecting stability in the fuel price. Right? We expect certain stability in the fuel price, but all of a sudden it changed, and now you get excited. Now you get agitated because I have only this much of money, I have only this much of reserve, but how can I deal with this much of high full price? Now you start thinking. So the point is, all the things that we are dependent, are they permanent or impermanent? Are they predictable or unpredictable? So they are inherently impermanent. So, but unfortunately, we are expecting stability from impermanent phenomena, impermanent situations. But we are expecting certain stability. But when they change, then I am tempted to think. I become puzzled, I become sort of panic, because I was expecting certain stability, but it didn't provide me the stability. It has changed. So the pandana, it's called pandana. So the pandana means that I become somewhat shocked, somewhat changed, somewhat struggled, agitated, because my base is now vibrating. My footing is not stable. My dependency is not stable, because that inherently can't provide me the stability. Inherently it is unstable, or inherently it is impermanent. But we don't realize that. We are seeing permanence in what is impermanent. Have you heard about that? Anicce nicca sanya. What we have is anicce nicca sanya. It's a perversion in our mind. So those are 4 types of perversions Buddha is talking. Anicce bhikkave nicchanti sanya vipallaso, chitta vipallaso, ditta vipallaso. So when inherently things are impermanent, but we perceive it as permanent, we want certain permanence in it, then I start thinking when things are changing. So therefore, this pandana is another area promoting certain amount of thinking in our mind. So many areas. That's why actually when we are developing in our practice, instead of restless behavior, instead of this kind of agitating behavior, our mind now has to become very restful, fairly still, fairly calm, fairly quiet, fairly stable. So you can see, so all these different drawbacks have to be abandoned. In one sense, the restlessness has to be abandoned, the agitation has to be abandoned, any kind of provocations are to be abandoned. Now all that, once they are abandoned, so mind naturally become calm, naturally become still, naturally become quiet. Something like that.
Question number 7. Venerable Bhante, some of these thoughts which we are trying to reduce, imagination, proliferation, comparison, are actually sometimes helpful in daily life. For example, when solving problems, designing something, improving or changing a situation. So how to use these thought types in our daily life without becoming too attached to them, or while still pursuing our spiritual path? Much merits for your advice. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very true. So the comparison is necessary in the mundane life, and we are supposed to compare the situations and get the select the best option. So that is there. And what's the other thing he's mentioning? Proliferation.
Yes.
Proliferation, I can't say it is really useful. Maybe if you are thinking too much, I can't say it is really useful. So proliferation is something always giving us a lot of trouble. Thinking too much is not really useful, because sometimes it can make the mind too agitated and more crowded, and you can get into kind of obsessive type of thinking. So the proliferation, if you are doing in a correct way, then it may be you are imagining about something nice that you are going to do, you are planning something wholesome that you are going to do. In that way we can say, yes, there is a certain amount of benefit. But overthinking, proliferation, and these are actually something that we have to reduce. It is very difficult to find much advantage in overthinking, much advantage in proliferation. So there are many stories related to proliferation, that people are planning and ultimately losing everything. And their planned time, the time they have invested in planning, all wasted. So it doesn't mean that we shouldn't plan or we shouldn't think, but the point is, once we ignite that side in the mind, it keep going on. We can't stop. That's the problem. So that's the third stage of the proliferation. Now you can refer Madhupindika Sutta. So there are three main stages. The first stage is more kind of a cause and effect stage. Chakkuncha paticca rupecha upajati chakku viññānam tinnan sangati passo pasapacca vedana. So that part is purely cause and effect, purely patissamuppanna, purely cause and effect base. Just a very early fundamental stage. Second stage is where we put our hand as a person. Yang vedeti tang sanjanati, yang sanjanati tang vitakketi, yang vitakketi tang papancheti. So that part is actually, as a person, how I participate into the picture. Say you want to, you have a certain feeling and you want to recognize it. And once you recognize it, you want to express it, you want to talk about it, and you want to think about it. And now you are thinking in many different ways. So the proliferation now begins, but still as a person. So you want to think in the past, to the future, to planning, imagination, all that. Now you are slowly igniting these different areas by yourself. That's the second stage. Third stage is where you become a victim of that very process. Yam papancheti tato nidanam bhikkhu purisam papancha sanya sanka samudacharanti atitanagata pachuppannesu chakku viññeyesu rupesu. So likewise, either you are looking at something, you're hearing something, smelling, tasting, touching, and even thinking. Everywhere you become a victim of that very process. So that is the third stage. Then you can't stop. So if we are reaching that third stage, in a way it's harmful. So you can't stop. So therefore it can happen either way. If you might start with in a wholesome way, okay, assume that you are planning giving a dana. Okay, you can start in a wholesome way, but it can branch out at different areas and ultimately end up with certain aversion, certain doubts, and so many areas. So you can't predict where the mind ultimately branching out. So that's why the thinking actually makes us really confused sometimes. So that's why the thinking has to be somewhat controlled, and the proliferation has to be completely abandoned. Simple as that. So you know that the Arahants, actually we can't say everybody is free from proliferation, but Arahant for sure free from proliferation. That is one property, one characteristic of the Arahant. That Buddha mentioned in Dhammapada. That's a beautiful verse. Papancha birata paja nippapancha tathagata. Papancha birata paja. So these folk are delighted in proliferation. They love proliferation. They love overthinking. But nippapancha tathagata. Tathagatas, the Arahants, are free from proliferation. Actually, freedom from proliferation is something that we have to aspire in our vipassana practice. So as we are continuing our vipassana path, so we need to particularly pay attention. Am I reducing proliferation now? How often I am getting to the proliferation? Or is it completely stopped now? Maybe thoughts still happen, thinking still happen, but not to the victimized level. Not to the level that say I can't stop myself. Keep worrying about something. Such situations are there, right? So incident has happened. Probably you might have done something wrong. It has happened some time ago, but still keep on worrying. Why? Now these are the areas we need to correct. And maybe the planning, the other side. So certain event going to happen and keep on planning. Say someone is going to marry next month. How much of thinking going on? How much planning going on? Keep on planning. Couldn't stop, couldn't sleep. Keep on planning. Now these are the areas actually people get sick, mentally sick, because of the proliferation. So therefore the insight practice particularly give us a very good solution to reduce proliferation. So therefore I can't agree that the proliferation may be useful even in the mundane life. Certain amount of planning may be useful, but only a limited amount. But if it is going to an excessive level, uncontrollable level, then it's not good.
Question number 8. Venerable Bhante, I like to clarify Vitakka and Vichara in detail. As an example, in breathing, Vitakka is noting inhale and exhale. Vichara is checking the details like long or short breath, cold or warm, etc. In walking, Vitakka is left or right. Vichara is to check the softness or hardness when the foot touches the ground, or the feelings when touch the ground, cold or warm, etc. Please let me know the above understanding is correct or not.
Yeah, fairly correct. Because to that Vichara you get the detail. So the Vitakka is merely paying attention to that very place where the foot touches. Now if you are talking the walking practice, say, now that is the beauty of the walking practice also. Now say for example, when your right foot is touching the ground, we have to apply the mind here. So when left foot is touching here, then the mind has to be shifted from this place to here, isn't it? So this is a kind of a very good, very quick, precise, applied mind is necessary. Vitakka is necessary. Otherwise we miss the place, right? So the foot is touching and we take our mind from here and land here now. So therefore the proper aiming has to happen, and again timing also has to happen. So technically we can understand, okay, these little things are there. So, and as you correctly mentioned, so Vitakka is simply landing our attention to that particular leg or foot, and then the Vichara is the one providing us the detail. Correct, yeah.
There's another part of that question, Bhante. Also, can we analyze all thoughts under the same concept? In thoughts, Vitakka as just a thought, Vichara as what sort of a thought it is, Raga, Dvesha, Moha, etc.
We can say so, but the thing is, Vitakka and Vichara are taken as two Chetasikas. So it's two aspects of the thought itself. So applied mind and the sustained attention is taken as two aspects of the mind, and the thought itself is not considered as the Vitakka and Vichara. So these are certain properties of the mind, we can say.
Sometimes when thought comes, can identify it, and as you explained yesterday in the Dhamma talk, before going through the prapancha process. I tried it several times. When it was successful, felt very happy, but want to try more next time. Sometimes thought only can identify after a while, and I want to analyze why the thought appear. When analyzed, can see the tanha, mana,
Ditti.
It says dvesha,
Typically, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Venerable Bhante, thank you for coming to SOS, and hope next time you are able to stay a little longer, at least 5 days. We all wish you good health, and may you attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very life. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, you too. So the question, I forgot the question.
So this is, sometimes when thought comes, can identify it,
Yeah.
and as you explained yesterday in the Dhamma talk, before going through the prapancha process.
Yeah, that's very nice. So that's what we need to do. Thoughts do happen, but we don't allow it to go to the last stage, the prapancha stage, but we are able to arrest it at early stage. That is definitely has to happen. That's the progress of our practice. Thoughts may happen, but we are not allowing it to progress towards the prapancha state. Rather, we are able to arrest it at a very early stage, and we are able to let go of them.
And the yogi says that the yogi wants to analyze the thought as tanha, mana.
That's also fine. It depends actually. Many practices are there. I mean, now say for example, say if I refer certain sutta, say now Anapanasati sutta in the Dhammanupassana section, Buddha say Aniccanupassi, Viraganupassi, Nirodhanupassi, Patnissagganupassi. Probably you have heard about these things, right? So say one approach is you are not interested about the content, you simply see the impermanent nature of the whatever the thought. Okay, thought happen, but you are not really want to look at the content of it, but you simply see the behavior of it. A certain thought happen and you are simply watching it. You are not worried about what is inside it, but you see how it is passing away. Simply impermanent, arising and then passing away. It's impermanent. And then another approach is the Viraganupassi. Say you don't need to really worry about it at all, because actually in order to practice Viraganupassi you need certain amount of insight, because you are quite sure, okay, whatever arises will pass away. Therefore you are not worried about this thought. You are very much calm. You are maintaining a kind of a dispassionate attitude towards it, because you are very well know it will pass away. So naturally it will pass away. That's a known fact. And Nirodhanupassi, you can look at the passing away side. Not much interested about the rising side, you are looking at the passing away side. The last one is actually the Patnissagganupassi. Even for that you need further, say, insights. I don't want to explain that. Now the content of it, looking at the content of it gives us certain insight. What character am I? What's the content of the mind? So what are the defilements still persisting in the mind? What are the certain tendencies available in the mind? So that is something to know. That's also useful. Now there are certain suttas that Buddha encouraged to look at it. Now say for example, in suttas like the Mahasunyata Sutta, so Buddha particularly mentioned, now there are, as we already discussed, the 5 chords of sensual pleasure: sight, sound, smells, tastes and tangibles. Now these are the likes, these are our desires. And currently if I am looking at my mind, if the mind is thinking about sights, smells, tastes, tangibles, so is the mind occupied with such desires? Do you get the point? Now typically our minds are keep on asking to look at something, keep on asking to hear something, keep on asking to smell something, taste something, touch something. So minds are typically occupied with these kind of sensual desires. So is your mind occupied with sensual desires when you are checking your mind? Is it a good thing or bad thing? So this is what Buddha is asking us to check. Okay, when you are practicing, time to time, reflect in your mind what is inside the mind. Is it thinking about sight, sound, smells, tastes, tangibles, or the 5 sense chords, sensual chords? Simply have the sensual desires. If that is the case, Buddha say, okay, you need to restrain yourself, you need to practice further. That's not a good thing. So he is advising like that. Therefore, knowing the content of the mind is sometimes beneficial to understand our defilements, understand our character. So therefore, it's not a bad thing. Now you are even going further here. Why this thought has happened? Is it because of the tanha it has happened, or mana it has happened, or ditti it has happened? So these are the 3 typical roots mentioned in the certain commentary. Say the proliferation can happen in 3 roots: tanha, ditti, mana. Tanha is the craving, ditti is different views, wrong views, mana is the conceit or the comparisons. So the thoughts can happen, the proliferation can happen, particularly using these 3 roots, any of these 3 roots. So when thinking is going on, you can check yourself, check the mind and see what is the exact root. Is it more into the tanha, craving based thinking going on? Is it the conceit based thinking going on, or any kind of view based thinking going on. So if you found, okay, these are the areas currently, say, craving based thoughts are going on, okay, now we need to reduce the craving. If views are the root cause, okay, abandon the views. The conceit, the comparisons are the cause, okay, need to reduce the comparison, like that. So these are little interesting areas, fairly deep in a way, certain kind of Buddhist psychology we are talking here. So, I mean, many thoughts are happening due to these very fundamental causes. Yeah.
Question number 9. Dear Venerable Bhante, at times I listen to talks of people like Eckhart Tolle, Osho, Sadhguru, Alan Watts, Jeff Foster. They are helpful, and at times I feel they preach a philosophy in line with the Buddha's teachings, even though from different backgrounds. Sometimes they talk of Vipassana too. What is your take on that? Is it a good idea to listen to modern day philosophers like them? How do you view what they preach compared to what we practice here? Much merits for conducting a wonderful retreat.
I haven't followed any of them deeply, but recently I watched certain guided sittings by Eckhart Tolle, and fairly interesting. I found this pretty interesting because he's also talking about the silence of the mind and the importance of the present moment. These are not bad things. I mean, these are interesting things. Actually, I mean, different people come to the Dhamma from different approaches. So we can't expect everybody to be born Buddhist and then come to the Dhamma, but rather people are coming from different backgrounds, and they may start with Eckhart Tolle, fine, no problem, but later probably they find more deeper in the Buddhist teaching and they may end up with the Buddhist teaching, no harm. And many good teachers are there nowadays. Lay teachers are there, of course, and they are also talking fairly good things, but I am not a fan of any of them. So not with Eckhart Tolle or Osho I haven't much studied at all. Different such people are there. Recently I saw one video, one lady called Pooja from Sadhguru. She's in Canada. Somebody has shared that video with me, and she's going to a fairly long silence period, very long silence period, and she's a follower of Sadhguru. Now I find certain areas, actually what is unique with the Buddha's teaching is the importance of the non-self. That is one area that we need to keep in our mind. So certain other areas, certain other, say, practices or beliefs sometimes has certain aspects of the Atma, self. But the Buddha particularly emphasized the non-self. But that also happened at a later stage. Don't put non-self at the early stage. So that's also harmful. Now assume that you killed an animal. So animal also non-self, he also non-self. There can't be any karma then. So you can't put like that. You can't argue like that. So therefore the non-self is a fact, is a truth. But you need to put it into proper perspective at the correct stage. So, but what I want to highlight is that, say, certain teachings carry certain taste of the Buddhist teaching, certain aspects of the Buddhist teaching to some extent. But when you practice it, when you go deeper and you do a thorough analysis, there may be certain shades of self inside that teaching. Immediately it is not visible. That's the problem. Because things are now a little mixed, like, so one can prepare another religion by taking certain parts from the Buddhist teaching and prepare something and present it as a new teaching. But Buddhist teaching particularly highlight, as I mentioned, the non-self aspect, and but unfortunately certain other teachings, at the beginning it may have certain moral aspect and maybe concentration aspect, certain insights, but still has certain impediments of the self. So those are the areas that we need to be careful. And Buddha, on the other hand, very nicely, bravely has mentioned about the non-self aspect.
Question number 10. Dear Venerable Bhante, can you explain how can we grow clear comprehension, sati sampajana, by just observing the mindful object? Much merits for your teachings, Bhante.
Yeah, actually we already discussed this to some extent. Now say you are practicing mindful breathing. Now, as we just discussed, the vichara aspect is the very much the beginning of the clear comprehension. So we apply the mind and then we start observing it, or we start a little bit investigating it, the vichara side. So that is where you get the information. Okay, this is long, this is short. Now I am experiencing the beginning, now I am experiencing the middle. So likewise, this information is available when we do this vichara, when we do this investigation. So this investigation, this vichara, all are aspects of the clear comprehension. So they are fairly relevant in a way. Sampajanya, Dhamma vichaya, Panya, all are fairly relevant, fairly connected. Therefore, now if you think of breathing, now we apply our mind, we apply the mindfulness to the breath, and now we are trying to understand or investigate where is it touching. Is it long? Is it short? Compared to out breath, is it warm or cool? Am I experiencing the beginning, or am I experiencing the middle? Now these are actually introduce certain inquiring quality to the mind, investigative quality to the mind. So that is very important. Otherwise, what happens is we simply be mindful and we are staying with the object in a superficial way without going deeper. So we need to, once we go deeper only, we are able to retrieve more subtle aspects. So that comes under the Dhamma vichaya. That is more promoting the Vipassana aspect.
Question number 10. Venerable Bhante, I was thinking yesterday, when we say ditte dittamattam, sute sutamattam, how can we learn the contents of a Dhamma talk? If we just listen as just a sound, then we are not learning the teaching. Please explain. Thank you. Says sorry, maybe a stupid question.
Not. Yeah. Fully agreed. So don't apply the ditte dittamattam now. Sute sutamattam now. You need to understand what's going on, what are the things that we are talking. But when you want to apply it, as you said, you may not get the content. Maybe you may not do any kind of interpretation. But on the other hand, can you listen while keeping the mind quiet? Can't you listen? Can't you listen while keeping the mind quiet? Or is it possible? Should be possible, right? So why can't? But typically what happens is, so when someone is talking, so I am also listening, but my mind is giving a lot of interpretations, right? He's telling the truth, or he's hiding the truth, so I know better than him. Maybe many ideas, many different viewpoints are now popping up in my mind other than the listening. But if we stop all that, then probably we can merely listen. That mere listen does not mean that we can't understand the content also, isn't it? We still can understand, but without giving any wrong interpretation or any adding my own biases, any of these, I can simply listen. So therefore, partly I can agree with you. Say, when you are listening, you can't do sute sutamatta, because then you might lose the content. To some extent, correct. But on the other hand, say when you are simply listening, if you are not adding your own stuff and do many other fabrications, if you are fully agreeing or fully aligned with what the preacher is telling, that ohita soto dhamman sunati, you have heard about it, right? So when you are listening, okay, you have to properly pay attention and then listen. Don't get distracted. So this is how Buddha advises us to listen. So if you are doing like that, then mostly you are connected with the preacher, connected with the talk. You don't miss anything. and your mind get very much like absorbed to the teaching, very much like. So therefore I can't say Sute Sudamattang may miss the point or may miss the content, probably also because you are not interested about the content, rather you simply having a kind of an overview. Now when you do Dittya Ditta Mattang, so your mind is not landed upon a particular object, rather it's getting a kind of an overview. So same thing to the Sute Sudamattang. So therefore it is true that you can't do immediately Sute Sudamattang. Now the interesting thing is, now if Bahya, when Buddha is telling it to Bahya, is he practicing that or later he start practicing it? Now Buddha is the one teaching the Dhamma to Venerable Bahya. Okay, Bahya, this is the way that you need to restrain yourself. How? Ditte dittamattam bhavissati, sute sutamattam bhavissati, mute mutamattam bhavissati, viññāte viññātamattam bhavissati. So did the Bahya got the message? He got, right? He got it. Then he practiced it. So first, therefore, you need to get the message and then you need to practice it. So therefore, we don't need to mix. You don't need to put the cart before the horse. So first understand, get the teaching and then practice. Then you can become a Bahya.
The final question, Bhante. Yesterday's Dhamma talk, is it possible to listen to the Dhamma talk again, maybe via YouTube? Please let us know. Thank you.
That you can answer.
Yeah, I think it's recorded. So most likely it'll be uploaded to the YouTube channel of the Nissarana. So if you search that, you will find it out. Also in the website.
Nissarana.
Yes, it will be published.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the questions.
Okay, so we can write it down and give it to the web link. Yes. What's that? Yes, yeah, yes. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that can be, yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that can be arranged too. Yes. Yes. Because Venerable, like Bhante Khondajo was very generous and helped us to record the sessions. So yeah, so they'll be available in the website as well.
Okay, so those are the questions we have. And 2:34. So now, Sute Sutamattang.
First and foremost, thank you, Venerable Chandaratana Thero, for coming here and sharing with us your wisdom and making it so accessible. You can see from the feedback how well received your teachings have been. So thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you also to yourselves here, the team who've helped arrange and make all of the arrangements to have you here today, as well as Dom, Kim and others in the kitchen, as well as all